Present.
Ellen Strader,
Present.
Kunchek Bakta.
Present. All right.
City staff in the room are Lucas Marcus and Brooke Lucero.
Okay. If there isn't any questions or discussion on agenda, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move to approve as presented.
A second.
All right. Everybody in approval say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any public input?
No public input today, sir.
Okay. All right. Moving on to approval of minutes. So I think we got two sets.
I did not get any at all.
I didn't get any.
Did they get shipped with the agenda?
Did you get the minutes? Did you email them by chance or?
Yeah, I scanned them over.
Or in a separate email
No, they should be scanned over with the agenda.
agenda. I didn't get mine. But that doesn't mean anything. It could have been there and I didn't see the attachment. But, you know,
No, if you're all saying you didn't get it, I scanned them over because I got one myself.
Well, maybe, I don't know if we could, I mean,
we can table till the
Okay.
next meeting.
I'd hate to do that, but if we can, I'll try to correct whatever may have happened. I'm not sure what
Can I
happened.
read it?
Sure. So, do you have them printed out?
You bring it up?
I didn't bring them.
Okay, okay. All right, so what we'll do is, on the next meeting, we'll be busy, with three of them. But just resend them, and then confirm, and then, we'll table for now. So I'll entertain the motion to table approval of minutes.
So move.
Second.
All right, everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Bakta, did you not get them either, or did you get yours? Oliver, by chance?
I did not get mine.
I just saw the agenda, so I don't think I saw it on the attachment, but I'll,
We'll
look
try to
again.
find a different way of getting them to you guys. If not, I'll hard copy you deliver if I have to, just to make sure that you guys have them in hand.
yeah, just in case anything happens, then I could provide time to read through while we have them in case anybody didn't get it electronically and so on.
Yes, sir, we apologize for that. We're not sure exactly what happened there.
All right, moving on to discussion items, applications.
Thank you, sir. So we did receive one application. It is from Las Vegas First Independent Business Alliance. I believe there's two gentlemen that want to make a presentation. And I'm hoping that you guys have time to go ahead and see what they want to present.
Did I hear that correctly? Just one?
We had one applicant. We did get calls. We did get plenty of calls. We got one applicant, and reason being that we only got one is what they felt was it was short time, it was short notice.
Okay.
I kind of tend to agree with your last thoughts of the date. So,
And setting it forever so everyone knows, yeah.
so we got something that we could discuss now later on, but if we could follow through with this application.
Okay. And so so we wanted to take presentation on this application? Is that what you were saying, or?
He has a presentation that he would like to share with you guys, if the board is willing.
Sure, we'll entertain it. Come on up.
No, sir.
Was his actual application, was that attached as well? Did I miss that?
No, we didn't expect, they showed up and they had a jump drive with it that they wanted to download, and they downloaded it now.
Okay, the extra application?
Application is here.
Okay.
You did make copies? We'll make copies real quick and get them over to you right away.
Yeah, so we'll do that thing, but ultimately when we decide we need, it's the review of the application, just so we check, but we'll take the presentation.
It'll be on its way shortly, sir.
Okay.
So do we have to do that, or would you guys do that?
You guys can do the presentation.
No, but like, you said to make copies of the application, do we have to have?
No, if you turned it in, they'll
No.
get us the scanned copy of the application. So you filled out,
Yes.
request application, right? Okay.
Yeah, C's out first. Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of Las Vegas First Independent Business Association. Gene Martinez, who's the vice president of the board, is also with me. And this is a mobile phone application that was developed about 3 years ago and has been used by tourists all over the country. We'll see in a minute. In the past, the application was originally sponsored by the CCHP, the Citizens Committee for Historical Preservation. And at that time, CCHP, I developed the application and got all the content on the to create a mobile phone app. I think the second year, lodger's tax funded it. The third year, I ended up funding because CCHP dropped the application. And with all the work that went into this, I didn't want to see it go away. So this last year, Las Vegas First, as a nonprofit, now owns the application. And this is a kind of a transition between how we were managing it before, and now it goes back to a nonprofit. And Las Vegas First Independent Business represents probably 130 businesses, I think, in town. So the relevancy to Las Vegas First is this application's really focused on tourists, visitors to the city. We'll walk through the card I just passed out. If you take the camera on your phone, you can scan the QR code, download the application. Everything's free. And when you open the application, these are some of the screenshots that you'll see when you open it. It's basically organized around tours of various locations within the city. As you all know, there's probably, I think, 800 plus buildings on the National Historic Register in Las Vegas. This application covers a couple of hundred of those, largely focused in the historic district. When you look at the various tabs, you can tour the historic districts, which would include Bridge Street, Douglas, all of the primary historic districts. Then in addition, there's a tour of one of them is a listing of all the movies that have been shot here, a tour of stone buildings. So as you get into it, you'll get an idea of how many different buildings are represented. With each building, there's a current photograph of the building. I spent a number of months going through every one of the buildings and taking a current picture of them. On many of the buildings, there's also photographs of the buildings in the past. Some of them are original photographs from the early 1900s to give an idea of what buildings look like in the past and what they look like today. The content, again, is largely pulled from the National Register, as well as CCHP a number of years ago had pamphlets for tours in town, and many of those tours were similar to the ones that we've used in the application. If we go to the next slide, this is just an actual usage here in the last several months. And there's a couple of things that are, I think, important to look at. Of the buildings on the site, over 4,000 have been viewed in this period of time. The average person that downloaded that app has looked at 8 pages of information. One surprising number in here is how long a tourist has used the application. The average in the whole application is 34 minutes, which is almost unheard of in an application. It varies quite a bit. For example, the Las Vegas Stone buildings, the average time somebody spent on that was 21 minutes. The historic districts, 12 minutes. This particular one is of the plaza and the buildings along the plaza. So that you get an idea, and that's just the top 10 buildings on the application. There's again 190, I believe, or 200 in it. So we're only looking at a small portion of it. The next slide. This is just in the last 2 weeks. And you get an idea, and this has been the case all along. The application's getting downloaded virtually every day by somebody, some days more. So here on last week, I think that was a Monday, but there was over 15 downloads of the application. So it's varying between 2 to 6, 2 to 8 every day, and that's just in the last 2 weeks. And that's somewhat, if you've been hanging around Bridge Street at all, we're still getting tourists coming through town. They can find access to this application at the Visitor Center, at the Plaza Hotel, a few other places that we have those cards spread around. So the application's getting consistent use. The next page. And this is telling. This is where the people are from that are using the application. And this is just in that time frame of the last 8 months. And that, it's a tourist application. It's for people that are coming through town that have a specific interest in the historic buildings in the city. So when you combine who's using it, and the who is using it is based upon where their residence is that their phone has been associated with. And there's also, I didn't pick the European locations, but there's also users in Europe. And obviously, a lot of it's centered around Colorado and New Mexico. Next slide. This is a brand new feature that just came out a few months ago, and it's going to be an important aspect of the application. We are now able to push a notification to anybody that has that application on their phone. So, for example, Las Vegas First has a calendar on the app now that lists events that are going on each month. If we have, for example, the light parade, we can go on the app, type in information about the light parade, push it out to everybody that's got that application is going to be notified that there's a light parade. That gets to be more important going forward, that if we've got events that we're looking out ahead, this is a great way to get a message out to well over 1,000 people that are using the app or have used it, to let them know other things that are coming on in the city. And the logic there being, if you've visited Las Vegas, if you've downloaded the app and you're already, by downloading it, you're already interested in the historic buildings and architecture of Las Vegas, we're targeting a very connected group of tourists that have taken the time to look at it and learn more about Las Vegas. So an important aspect of this new feature is being another way to market to tourists that have already shown an interest in the city. And next slide. And this is a larger the request that Las Vegas First is making. The application that this operates on is a software called Story. All of the content on it is owned by us, by Las Vegas First. There's an annual license fee to maintain that application using their software, and that's $2,295. That's an annual fee. So the request is to cover that annual licensing fee. It goes from August of this year to August of next year. We've got bridge funding from August 2023 till the present. So we're looking for lodger's tax to pick up that annual fee that covers it through August of next year. And then there'll be another annual renewal of it. During that time, and Gene has been updating content, putting together the calendar events. We also, Gene also put in a listing of all the members of Las Vegas First, 100, there's a lot of them on there, with their addresses, in some cases, their website.
Or the brief description of the business.
Of their business.
So it has some marketing value to local businesses that are members of the organization. And that's the request and some background on it. Any questions?
All right. I know about the app from the past, so I'll if there's any discussion from the board, then go ahead, Matt.
I have a couple of questions. This is sort of new to me too, so I'm just asking because I've only been on the board and I've seen this proposal before, but not like this comprehensive. So the first page says Bridge Vegas LLC. What is that?
The original application, when it went from CCHP to me personally, the LLC that went to is called Bridge Vegas. That now will be, and if it hasn't shown up on the application already, that will change to Las Vegas First Independent Business Alliance.
Okay. And then you talked about a licensing fee. What's the entity that collects that? What's the name of that company?
It's called Story, STQRY, and they're a national, international firm that specializes in the software to run tours for all kinds of industries. But the software is designed specifically to be able to lay out a map and tours of whatever content you want. In this case, we chose the historic buildings to be the content on that app. So the content that's on there, all of the historic buildings and the text are all inputted by us. But the software, imagine that it's Microsoft Word, that you buy Microsoft Word. Anything you do with that's yours. So this is the software that powers a mobile phone application.
Okay, and then I guess my last question, I may have another one at some point, but when I understand how lodger's tax works, we try to push the dollars that are gonna promote tourism citywide, okay? And in my mind, I'm trying the best I can, because it almost seems, you said historic buildings. Well, I think that's part of our community. I don't know if it's all of our community. I have a business on South Grand. Oliver has one on North Grand, or more north than I'm at. So how would anybody know that there's something else other than the historic buildings? And it almost looks like this is just promoting Las Vegas First and its members, and historic buildings. But how do you promote all of the town?
I'm up for suggestions on how you do that, because the challenge is thinking from a perspective of a tourist coming in, what content, what kind of information, if you were a tourist, what's bringing you to Las Vegas and what would you have interest in? So
And I guess I don't want to be too finite and just say it's just going to be buildings and historic stuff. You know, I know tourists are going to want to eat. They're going to want to put gas. They might want to go to the grocery store. They may want to even go to something else out of the norm. Maybe one of them got hurt, they need to go to the hospital, you know? I'm just thinking outside the box, because, you know, I see this as funding a very specific group, and I'm always thinking, how do we promote it all? If that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, and for the times that they've come before, those are some of the thoughts. I mean, one of the thoughts for my side is that the city owns the license. And then we have an agreement, an MOU with whatever entity within town wants to provide essentially the information that's gonna be on the app. So if it's gonna be this, but if somebody else wants to do other sections of town, that could be positioned, and then somebody could be appointed, hey, who, whether it's within the city or another entity, whether it's IBA, but it's still, the license belongs to the city, so there would be some understanding of how do we get all the groups involved and all of the sections of Las Vegas involved. So IBA would have their section. If somebody else would like to post content, we would say, hey, this is the criteria. I mean, it's pretty straightforward within the app of how you can put something together. Then that other entity would be able to do it as well. The way it seems to be set up, you know, if you look at the app already, is trail by trail or building by building or so on. I would think that any entity can create content that we can post within this app. So that would be an answer, but if that's not possible, or we're unable to work with all entities in town or other entities in town to encompass more, then that would be the sticking point.
Say so. Number one, you know, not everything that we advertise or what have you is gonna be, cover everybody's business and everything in Las Vegas. Sometimes we have to take little notches as we can get them. If you had one of I'm not a Las Vegas First member, nobody's ever approached me, but there you go.
Chance right there.
But, you know, these ones, if you had them as stickers, and whether people are members or not, we put them in business windows as allowed. Because the key is this, sometimes it's not a matter of capturing that tourist that's right here, it's getting them back. They might be driving through Dairy Queen, driving through, you know, catching a burger. All of a sudden, they're clicking on this and, oh shoot, maybe I want to bring my wife and kids back here. You know what I mean? And then from there, you know, as people keep going, then they click on other things about Las Vegas, and they find hotels, or they find gas stations, or what have you.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion, is that it promotes Vegas, but to expand it and promote it where people are stopping, and maybe not even just for, you know, not just Las Vegas First, but, you know, stickers that can go in windows, that'd be a big deal. That's a big deal, because hotels, restaurants, everywhere. People love to do it. And not only that, but guess what happens? I'm gonna take a picture of this. I'm sending it to my son in North Carolina. Oh, he's gonna share it now with the people over there. All of a sudden, you know, he bumps it. Matter of fact, he works at a golf course in North Carolina, but he's talking to one of the members the other day. The guy's you know, a St. Mike's graduate, played football against him and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, that stuff starts the wheel turning. I'm myself, I'm 100% for this. I think expanding this and making it easier for people to click would be my big thing.
The concept is good, and the Lodgers Tax in the past have been asking for more forward-thinking things, more things digital, more
It
things
is,
on that.
it is.
And it certainly answered that call. The only issues have been in the past of licensing and so on, and the first question is who owns the license, and we had those issues with CCHP. Ultimately, it's the content that's gonna be the driver. So for Matt's question, it's a great start. Does it mean it doesn't have to encompass anything? If anything, to answer, you know, someone that says, hey, can't we have other things on there? Let's just have an opening and idea for that. So if we do approve, we already have the content that you have, but let's have avenue if any other entity has exactly the display or so on that we can do, we can add to it. But it's a,
That's a key is, I probably took almost a year to get that content all put together in the app. It's really about getting the content. So if we have, for example, restaurants in town, to get the content, to get the photographs of it, all that takes time. So each segment that we want to target, and it would make sense to have one channel for restaurants in town, one for the hotels and motels in town.
And other businesses, I mean, yeah, you don't have to be a member, but if you want to join,
you could join, so if we're adding additional things, and so that's where we're getting into detail, but they tend to be needed to be fleshed out, so what's there is already great, there's a drive, but if we build on it and we wanna add things, we'd probably have to entertain scenarios of who owns the data. You put some hard work in to do these ones, if somebody else has something in, who owns it, we don't wanna get into the situation, that's why I like the idea of the city owning the license, so we don't, if an entity gets into trouble, or if IBA decides we just don't want to do this anymore, we need to be able to carry on the platform if we needed to, because it is an investment. So we don't want to be left in a situation where, oops, an entity didn't want to do it anymore and we just lost everything we built.
I think that's something that Gene could bring back to the board, and they can discuss if they want the city to have the license. And then it's between, Gene's been doing now a lot of the updating, and he understands the software to do that. If the license is transferred to the city, then the city can work out with Las Vegas First, if you want them to continue.
With understanding that what we're posting on here is owned by the town, by the city. Everybody owns it for what's being posted.
Sure.
And that way, that sticks with the town,
Forever.
yeah, even if we transfer it to another app or so on.
I agree.
That also alleviates the situation where in that 1 year transition between CCHP and me personally funding it, that choice was getting rid of it, which you hate to do because it's got a lot of content and it's been used by tourists.
Yeah, look, and there may be different ways, again, there's other apps, but the driver is the content, and as a town, I think several times we've ended up building something, but we end up losing it somehow, or, it's lost somewhere, so it's important that if we're building some of these things, that we're keeping it for the long haul there. Do you have any other
I
questions?
have a question. I'm not very technically savvy, but am I under the impression that you can only access this on a phone, or can you do it on your computer at home, somewhere around the world?
You can do it on a computer, but the interface is designed for the phone. It's not laid out for a website. When you look at it on a website, it fills the whole screen, and it's not quite as user-friendly that way, but the content could be available on the website.
Well, since I don't use my phone very much except to talk, wouldn't it be advantageous to be able to access it when somebody's sitting in their house in Canada and wants to know about, they don't know anything about Las Vegas, but if something were to appear that would trigger them to go to that site, would that be an advantage?
I'd have to look
Well,
how the formatting would work on a website.
yeah, and it's clearly, and I've run through the website and stuff, it's clearly for an app. But that doesn't mean that it's good, because this portion of our marketing could be this portion of our marketing, our Visit Las Vegas NM website and so on that's developing can mention this app. So when you're here, but it seems like to be more of when you're here, you use the app and so on, or you're on the go and you have, or if
But
you
we'd
see
like
the
to
sign.
encourage people that are not here.
Absolutely, but we would have to direct them to a website that may have the similar content. So that's something we could talk about. If there's content on the app that we can have on our Visit Las Vegas NM website or so on, but we want to kind of coordinate, and that's been kind of the issues, is that we'll have this, but we don't have coordination with the rest of our marketing that we have for tourism. This is just one aspect of it. If we try to, I mean, this app is not designed to be a desktop experience. It's from the get-go, because it's an app as a.
Well, I think
As on the phone.
it's going to the app as wise because the new generation or the younger generation is more phone
That's
savvy.
true.
And that's why I think the app more than the computer.
So,
I mean, I know I'm sorry to say it's.
Yeah, I know, I got it. But, when you, a few years ago, when CCHP was underwriting you or whatever they were doing, do you have any idea how many people were using this?
Yeah, I mean,
In your handout, the data is showing you
Uh,
the
no,
actual usage of it.
She's saying when.
A couple of years ago, when they were doing it.
When people were here, were there 1,000 people that were looking at it?
It started from scratch, obviously, when we first put it out. So every day, every week, there's people downloading the app. It's up over, well over 1,000, and
I just put in 5 right now, so. Thing,
It's grown, in other words. I mean, I don't know.
And we haven't had a chance to market it. So just like Oliver said, by posting the cards or so on, we haven't put any firepower to say we have this app to display. They're just seeing it from where they would see it. There would have to be some type of campaign for the app itself, but some of it is when they're actually here. I see a lot of it for it's actually here. We point it to them. So if there's a tour that they can take or they want to move from building to building, I just see it more as a mobile experience. I mean, that's the whole idea. It's an app. It's a mobile app. So I think part of it, if we, that wants to be done is, needs to be promotion as well. Whether it's IBA or we're promoting it through the rest of our marketing efforts, by pointing it out on a website, pointing it through social media or so on, the more attraction it gets, the more downloads you will have. I do know it's as far as the technology, and I know your license, you guys have gotten comfortable with that. I know there is different avenues. I think the newer type is that you don't have to download an app at all. Those are in-browser apps. You just go to the site, you scan the QR code, and you're there, and you're already in the app. There's no downloading needed because the trend seems to be that people are reluctant to download app. They've already have 1 billion apps on their phone. They don't want to download another thing, but they'll go to the website, and if the website behaves just like the app, and that's what's happening. Google and Apple, for that part, have realized some of it, probably Google more so. So basically, you're just having these apps just start right up because you went directly to the address. So just the thought. So my thought process here, yes, the license, but it's more about, it's driven about what information that we've gathered, how is that saved? So if we need to transfer it to another platform or so on, we still can, whatever we're building.
And all of the content, text and pictures, can be ripped off the interface in the app. So everything that's on that app, if somebody wants to take the time to reformat a website and put it, do it on a platform other than Story, just doing it in Wix or any website.
And you're the first to approach us. Look, there's different avenues, right? Different apps or different ways, but you're the first to approach us with something, with some type of digital marketing from an entity. So as far as I'm concerned, we'll entertain that notion because, again, we're building content. If we could keep doing that, we'll have something, for the town. The town, for marketing purposes, needs to gather all of the content that we can and connect it together and present it, to the world, whether they're on their desktop or on their tablet or on their app. We need to gather this content and put it together for the betterment of the whole. And this is start of one section. If we can solve some licensing issues and have an MOU of who owns the content, I think we could build out and see where it connects with the rest of the things we're doing.
You bring up a good point too on the marketing. There, in the 3 years that we've had it, there's not been $1 spent in marketing. The only marketing is this card and posters. So that would definitely make a difference, I think, in the awareness of it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I really like the idea. I'd just like to see it more global. You know, there's a way to do it. So maybe it is the approach of the city. So I guess my question to Lucas, if this was to be something that you ultimately are responsible for, sir, and then I'm also looking at the marketing piece, which is Sunny 505 and what they're going to bring to the table. You know what I mean? Because I think they're probably working on some of this stuff already for our website and stuff like that, right?
Yes, they are.
So I would imagine, is that something that you think might be done by your department or could oversee?
That's how you come into our department. We'd wind up dealing with it. Maybe the city planner or somebody could get on it and start working towards whatever the board or whatever the city may need at that
No,
time.
I'm not saying you have to have a whole person just doing this 24 hours a day or whatever it takes, you know, weekends, after work or whatever, but is it something that looks like you might be able to take over? Because
Definitely interested. I mean, it looks like something that's pretty good.
I'm not trying to take it away from anybody. I'm just saying, how do we make it and expand it more globally for the entire town to include all of those things we talked about here? But at the end of the day, we don't want it to fall and die either. There's a lot of work that's been put into it from what these gentlemen have said, you know what I mean? So we don't want to lose any momentum.
I don't know how.
Yeah, it would have to be it, but you're just having an understanding that you're sharing the license. And so even though there's not, say, in the meantime, there's not somebody designated 24/7 to do it, there just needs to be someone designated that, hey, we have content, how do we take care of it? And so if they need to continue to do the updates, as far as them, we have trusted entities for it. But if somebody has, I mean, to me, all this could be worked out. The bigger problem is additional content creators. You have a content creator here. They've done all this work for the buildings, but that's what's happening on a repeat business. Everybody that's creating the content seems to be in one area. We need content creators for the rest of the town. So if we've got that, then the city owns the license. We could put those things on there. When it's in that vein, it doesn't have to be, oh, it's just so-and-so, it's just these buildings and so-and-so. It could be what our content creators want to put on it. There's more we could do with this app. It is in this vein of a story and building so on, but there's additional stories that can be told with the rest of the districts in our town.
And Mr. Chair, if I can?
Yeah.
If Georgina was here, I know what she'd be saying, because she's a big stickler on the fact that we've lost so much content in the
Content, yeah.
past. We buy something, but we don't have it, or we don't own it. I don't want that to be the problem anymore. I want the city to always own the content. And even if we add to it or modify it in the future, we don't have to reinvent it. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing, you know what I mean? So I don't know how you approach that, but I really think we need to control the content. We need to own the content.
Absolutely. We want somebody 50 years from now picking this up and it didn't get lost and they're using it. I mean, we're archived by that point, but that's what's important, is the content in this thing. The licenses, the delivery and so on. I think we could figure out an MOU on how we can
Yeah, I think so.
share it.
Gotta do something.
We just, in that MOU, it just needs to be clearly stated, look, the content that we've built on here belongs to the city of Las Vegas.
And that's an important thing in looking at structuring something. And we ran into it with the application originally when I was dealing with CCHP. The content creator, and this is something to think about from other projects that you work on. The content creator owns the copyright. And when it isn't who bought the software.
Right.
And whenever you enter into any deal that's content related and you did the content, you own it. So if somebody comes in and has worked with the city and then claims they own it, they do not own it, you own it.
Right, that, if we've had that explicitly written, and I think it's a good exchange, in exchange for the city, for, I think, providing services for this money, we're providing a platform for this content. But I think it's a clear exchange because it's not, I mean, and what we're promoting is the town. So I think it's a clear exchange that, hey, this is the understanding that whatever is created or posted on it is public domain, it belongs to the city.
I think it's great. Yeah.
So let me
that's
ask,
fair for
Mr. Chair, if I can, so, because at some point we've got to make a decision on this, so.
Yeah, today is just for it's
Yeah.
just a discussion
So,
item, but
as you guys move forward, Lucas, is that something you guys can work together and try to figure out?
Yes.
Is that okay with you all as well? Because that way we're putting together the vehicle to continue to perpetually fund this and not have to go from organization to organization. You're probably gonna run out of them after a while. But at the way we're going, we need to take advantage of this, I think.
I agree.
Okay, I'm happy now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for anything, it's only gonna work if we put our full force in it. So far, we've just kind of been buying licenses, and then there's been some content created. If we really wanna go with it, we need to get other content creators on there. And if we really wanna platform the city, I think the best idea is having this understanding of you wanna put something on this platform that it's something that's added to the city's domain.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I think the gentleman talked about marketing. We need to market it too. We need to figure a way to do that.
Depending upon what 505, how that relationship works, that may be something that can be tied into the 505 project.
I think it's probably something that could be. So we'll talk with Desiree and see what she thinks of it too.
Yeah, when we get that presentation or so on, when we hear it, they may have content ready to deliver that may fit, and this may be a fit for this mobile platform. But again, for your question, you wanted to see, hey, what if somebody's in Canada, on their desktop? The Sunny 505, the Hope, if they're creating the website, is supposed to be covering that end of it. And they may point to the mobile experience for this portion of things, but it needs to work together for it. So we want it at some point, if 505 is the driver, I think we've all been waiting for kind of what we have entail, but I think it's going to be important since it's being paid with lodger's tax. I know they're making presentations to to city or mayor council, but at some point it needs to be right here so we can advise. Otherwise, it's hard to approve funding for something we haven't seen.
We could definitely arrange something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd
Okay.
like to see that. That'd be good.
I could definitely arrange something.
All right. Okay, so there was one application. Is there any other discussion on?
We'll let them work it out.
Okay. All right. Moving on to new application dates. So, let's see.
Looking at this, Mr. Chair, December 8th, we're meeting again?
Bring me some to the Dairy Queen.
Are we meeting on December 8th? Is that what this means?
Talk to you about it.
Well, we're gonna have to have a meeting to approve their, for there, because they had the one application in. I did check the
They'll
email.
call us. They'll
There was
notify.
nothing with it, we didn't get the minutes or the application, so I confirmed on.
But they'll notify when they have the applications and they want us to meet.
So yeah, so we'll have this discussion now, is that what the process is gonna be. So let's have this discussion now of, we receive the application, how we receive them, how long we want to review them before the meeting. I think we should have a chance to review, but what I've also asked Lucas and stuff is to kind of go through the application right away before, there needs to be due diligence if there's something clearly wrong with the application, or they didn't fill out half the application, or they didn't put any detail. So when we go over it, you kind of also, before the deadline, give the applicant a chance to fix it before he turns it in, because after the deadline, I find it, I mean, that defeats the purpose of a deadline, and it's always gonna get scary if we start accepting applications after the fact. So if there's something disqualifying it, unfortunately, it'll probably disqualify it for that purpose.
And that's just what the case is, so we wanna make sure as they're turning it in, if they turn it in on the 31st and there's major problems with it, that disqualifies it, it's what it is, but if it's early, we can give them time to say, hey, you need to provide detail here, you need to fix the issue, otherwise it's gonna be, and if it's a disqualifying one, it doesn't even come to us. I mean, you can give the reason why it didn't, but, a lot of it's gonna be pretty clear cut.
Mr. Chair, and I guess, Lucas, you weren't here when we went through the last process, which was interesting, when we went through all of the applications. And what I think, I think we recognized was, number one, we can't fund private entities, private business, private entities on their own. This last one was sort of one of those before. It was gonna go to an individual and not to an organization or not even to the city. It was, so we can't do that, number
Because of the
one.
LLC,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, and there was others, okay, that we wanted to fund, but we couldn't because they're asking for lodgers tax dollars to fund a private business, a private, company, I guess. Number two, I don't know if the checklist of the application has these things on it, but you may want to make a checklist. Number one, it can be funding a private entity. Number two, they have to at least be registered with the city, I would think, and hopefully register with, with the tax and rev department as a 501c3. They have to be a 501c3, you know what I mean? And some of them said, well, we're registered with the Secretary of State, but they're not a 501c3. So it's really sort of sad that you have to sort of investigate all this stuff, but we need to make sure that we're funding legitimate entities, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then I think at some point, maybe we brought in, finance director or something, but we just want to be making sure that whatever application comes through has, is the entity that they say they are, and we're able to do it because they're properly set up. If they're claiming they're a nonprofit, then they're gonna have certain things to
Documentation.
produce.
Yeah,
I mean, usually it hasn't come through us because we figure that's executed on the contracts end. And you guys are doing, but we could probably do some of, if we're running into issues, we could probably do some of that homework beforehand so it doesn't become an issue contract time.
we can definitely handle that. We
You
can
know what we're
definitely-
talking about, Lucas.
Yeah.
I think you did it before.
Yeah, I've done it a lot, there was a long time ago, and I think Krutik had barely got on the board at that time too, so I was cutting my
been a
teeth
while.
when he was cutting
We're
his.
still dealing, yeah. But as he mentioned, right now, this packet just is streamlined. It's just, there should be a page attached to it that says, this is the criteria for the application.
Okay.
This is what we need.
I'm glad you guys brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up. We're discussing the application dates right now. So we went through different websites to try to get a peek of what they were doing in their communities, and we wound up picking a site that we thought was very similar to ours. In that site, they did have their application, and they do actually have these checklists that they want everybody to follow. It's really clear.
Yeah.
It's right there in black and white, and it lets you know what qualifies, what doesn't qualify, what can disqualify, what can't disqualify you. And we definitely wanted to see if the board is willing to allow us to put that checklist together so we could check these
Go
applications.
to town, compare it, look, there's the best practices handbook, there's for New Mexico, lodgers tax best practices, they have a section, there's a criteria, they kind of even diagram it out of what's a good project, what's a bad project, but that is a great source for, hey, this is what we're looking for in the application thing, but it's the New Mexico Lodgers Tax, it's made by, I mean, it's out there, it's made by the New Mexico Hospitality
Association?
but that's the go-to for things lodgers tax.
Okay.
Because with the stuff that's on ordinance, some of the stuff is pretty wide and gray, that a lot of this, it's tough for everyone to do. So we just run into, hey, this is the best practice that we can say without getting it. We don't know number of miles outside of town, but we do know that we're targeting marketing outside of the town. That's the marketing effort that's written, just not specific miles or anything.
And then I would like to just add one more thing, and this is only from information that I've heard. I've not seen it in practice, at least not while we've been here. I've only been here about a year and so, I
Yeah.
think. But sometimes an entity will ask for money from lodgers tax. And I hate to be, an auditor. But then they contract with somebody who's here in town, but is not a registered business, is not even, registered with all the entities that they should be. So it's sort of interesting, that we're just giving money to individuals instead of, it's going through an entity, but it ends up in an individual's, desk or money in their life or whatever. At the end of the day, we almost have to make sure that whoever they're contracting with is at least has a business license, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, these are dollars that are very specific, and we need to make sure that it flows all the way through. So I hate to add more work to you,
So
to
what-
that, but if there's an application for an entity, and they're going to contract with somebody else to do X, Y, or Z, that at least have some kind of connection back to the city, I would think.
So would that process, would you guys like want us to collect a letter of intent maybe from when they bring in their application, or should that be in
From
the
that
application
other
already?
contractor?
Yeah, because I mean, if they come and put their application in, and then you guys go ahead and grant, and then they turn around and take it to a subcontractor or whatever, and we didn't know about it, that's kind of hard for us. So we need to know upfront if they're gonna have these
Contractors.
contractors.
So are you thinking of like the infrastructure projects where something like that?
Well, it could be infrastructure, and I just heard it last meeting that we had with, I visited with the city councilors, and they said that there was entities that were contractors to potential funded entities, that these contractors didn't have anything to do with anything. They didn't even have a business license, and they're getting a good chunk of the money to do whatever X, Y, or Z was. And I'm saying, that's a little bit of a gray area. We need to know who's getting the lodgers tax dollars at the end.
But
We
it
don't
needs
wanna
to
funnel
be,
it.
it needs to be detailed out in the application as well for what
Yes.
we're approving, right?
Does
So
that
if we
make
don't
sense,
see that,
Lucas? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
so I think what we did was, I think one of them was, what's the last infrastructure, the wayfinding. So we know there was one company that did the design, I mean, this was, a lot of the stuff was before you had come in as well. But we paid a lot of money just to do the design of where they're gonna be, and so on and so on. So you paid one company for that. For what I saw, for what we approved, we were paying this one company. Now, if you're asking if this one company did some contractors or so on, I don't know. But we assumed that if we approved that design to be done by that company, then whoever is in that position, when it comes down to the contract, is making sure that those things are done. In the past, we haven't really, for what I've seen, we've never really got into the nitty gritty of it unless there was an issue. We just assumed that the city took care of it when they needed to take care of it. So those things sound like scenarios where in that section before the contract is signed off on, they need to make sure that we know who we're signing. We know what we've approved, but the city needs to make sure that if that changed from our approval, that let's not sign this contract.
And I'm following what you're saying, and I see, an infrastructure project, it's a wayfinding sign, it's a bench or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much those are dollars earmarked as such. They're for infrastructure. But now when we're talking marketing, okay, that's a whole other ball. It's that we need to see where the dollars flow, okay? And if these entities are gonna come for $100,000 and $20,000 is gonna be spent on a contractor that has no connection to the city, I think we need to know. We need to know where those $20,000 go. And it's not to buy a bench or buy a sign. We need to make
Marketing
sure,
services,
we
yeah.
need to make sure that, and I'm talking specifically marketing. Infrastructure, you're buying a tangible thing, and with it
Hope so.
comes design and all the other stuff, and,
We
you
spent
have
a
to
lot
have.
of money on a lot of design, so to be fair, the signs got built, so I was like,
Well,
where's the
and I'm not gonna
signs?
talk about the snake,
Yeah, so
the snake logo.
are the
but-
signs gonna finally show up? But
so-
we ended up, even for the signs, for that story, we ended up going in a different direction, because once we figured out the design and so on, by the time we got to the production, it was
No money
way
left.
out there. No, there was money,
Yeah.
it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, we were, you know, city manager and so on was able to figure out, hey, another contractor at that point that was better value for the city, the homework of where is already done. So it finally happened. My hope is that this wayfinding, the signage finds its way to the rest of town.
Yeah.
So we have a complete piece, and we talked about it on the infrastructure projects, that we can, if there's any way, if we're doing other sections of town, yes, you're doing everything that we complete some signage piece by piece in those districts.
And those are tangible, like the one that
But-
Lucas brought up the last time, that arch. I mean,
Yeah.
those are, so you can, we can't get into the details of that. You're just trying to get it up and running, and somebody's gonna have to figure out how much cement we need, how much strength that thing's gonna take, the whole 9 yards. That's up to the contract that we have with that individual, because it's infrastructure. But when it goes back to the marketing, which I think,
Well-
and I think you know what I'm trying to get at.
We'd have
We
the
need
same
to sort of
questions for
follow the dollars.
505. 505 would be our biggest, what I'm looking at is outlay for marketing dollars.
Yeah.
So it's a fair question to ask 505. Okay, how much of this is actual ad placement? How much of this is creative? How much of this is somebody to watch a social media page? So we can ask those questions if we've got that presentation. Those are fair questions to ask of what's being spent on what. And your question could be, is all of this in-house, or are you outsourcing it to someone else to take care of some of these things? But those are 4 questions on what it can be spent. And these questions have come up in the past, right? We've canceled past marketers for us because we were upset about how the money was being spent. We felt there was too much overhead. But again, the contract is the most important part. For that past contract, it was Cisneros. Look, we had an ironclad I'm not gonna say ironclad, but we had a contract for the first year. That second year, when you got yourself into the trouble, it was blank. So everyone like, it was blank. There was nothing. All it said was, we're continuing, if we're extending the contract for another year, but there's no deliverables attached to it.
Really?
Right, so somebody signed off on that. So that's where we can say, hey, we're not usually getting into the contracts, but we can say, look, we wanna make sure this is a solid contract, we're approving, make sure, and a lot of this content stuff as well, we wanna own it, comes from that learning experience too. Whatever we do with 505, whatever we sign, whatever 505 does, the city of Las Vegas owns it if we pay for it. So those are some of the fair questions that we needed to get into, yeah.
Is the board ready for a presentation from Sunny 505? Should I?
Forever, yeah.
Are they almost done, or where are
No,
they?
I can check, I'll call Desiree and I'll check where she's at. But I could definitely try to set it up for the next board meeting. I think our regular is on the I think it's the 27th. I wanna say 27th.
Of December?
It's this month, because this is a special right now. This isn't the regular. So it has to be, oh no, it's quarterly, right? So
January?
December or January, huh? January, unless you want a special, and I could set something up special. I could find out where she's at. If she's something that she'd
We're
like to
getting ready for
present.
turkey and Christmas gifts, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about here. Life's gonna get crazy here in the
Yeah.
next couple of months.
Let's shoot for our next schedule meeting for that. Okay, we may have to have depending on this approval, I mean, looks like we're gonna have to have a special meeting if that, but look, it's at a discussion phase now. If we don't get that organized, we're not ready to call a meeting to approve this app. My hope was we had more applications. But let's set that up for January. We need to, we want it, if there's another way to get us more information on what's being done, let us know, but we want to at least have a discussion point on it. They may have answered a lot of the questions we already have, but when it comes down to it, I mean, this point, even for the past, the sticking point is, how is the board gonna approve something it hasn't seen? And that's made me anxious, because for some of it, we have approved, when we went through the budget, I mean, it's there, but we don't know the details of what 505 is gonna be providing. And they may have presented it to you or so on, but it needs to come to us at some point.
Of course,
Right?
we'll set something up.
But, all right, so deadline, so this is what you came up with that for application dates?
That's what we get for application dates. Again, I got a lot of calls on this, for these applications. We did get a few, we got a few, they just thought it wasn't enough time for them. Again, the dates, I guess, I don't know if we were hit and miss with these dates or how it was, but we came up with these dates. I don't know, did you guys get a copy of the dates?
Yeah. just-
Yeah,
With the deadlines being, of course, Brooke made modifications to make sure they didn't end on Sunday or Saturday, to make sure it's during the week. So the first one would be the deadline of December 8th. And that would be for the events of, from January through March 31st, which would mean we'd have to call a special meeting if you guys would agree to these dates.
okay, so the only issue that I have for it, right, is that the not enough time issue, so for December 8th, is that, we're putting another date, because that's for January 1st, 2024 to March 31st.
Yes, sir.
So they get something in and they're marketing within, so when's their event is within those 3 months?
Events within those 3 months, yes, sir.
Right, and so what I was trying to say is that the issues that we're having is that we're funding these events, so it's called marketing, we need to market it for longer than right before the event. And that's what ends up happening, most of the marketing ends up being revolving a campaign that's so close to the event, that we've never built up to the event. So a lot of the other cities, they have a much like that. I mean, our entities have to, once we've said ironclad dates, our entities, we have to shape our entities to say, think further ahead.
Further ahead, yes.
Start marketing early, or at least 6 months ahead, or so on, for it, because I don't know, even for say a radio campaign, you don't just want it the week before. You want a campaign that's all the way through. It's put in people's heads. So I mean, so the second one for having March 4th, right? So then let's see, 3 months for everything dated July 1st to all the way to the end. But how about this? How about if we could still make it work? Can we get advertising that needs to be done in July as time period? Can it be the January date instead?
Instead of March, you'd want it in January? The deadline?
How did you come up with the 4 months? Did you just break it up into quarters?
Up in the quarters.
Best way?
Up in the quarters, and then, so every quarter, we meet with you guys, so we wanted to make sure we could meet with you guys every quarter.
Okay.
So that's what it was about. And then, I know you're saying that there's about the marketing and stuff, but I'm thinking, I mean, if the deadline is December 8th, and they have events from January to March, not everybody has an event in January, I mean, but once.
They don't, yeah.
Once February and March come around, you start having these
But you wanna-
Valentine's Day dances and spring stuff coming up. And I think it gives them a lot of time to go ahead and market from there.
Sure.
I'm always open for the dates changing. I'm willing to do what the board wants to do.
Right, as long as they're ironclad. So let's not say like that for these dates, it's only for these dates. What we can say is these are their opening windows for you to put in an application,
We could do that.
right? And we're just providing more avenues. So if somebody wants to put in an application now and it's for July, they can. They can put it through. So we won't stick ourselves, so this is an application date, and then the next round is this date, and the next round is this date.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that-
So if there's an event that's gonna happen, let's say the fiestas, and,
I don't wanna punish anyone, because we have 4 dates, but I don't wanna punish everyone for wanting to start marketing.
in December.
Yes.
Got you, okay. So pretty much, they could put applications in December for July as well, not just not the first season,
Right.
but the second quarter and the third quarter if they wanted to, all the way to the other side, all the way to the fourth quarter.
I know it's come up before there, that confusion has come up before, it's like, well, we don't know if we can apply now, for so on and so on.
So if they would apply in December for a July event, would the board want to hear it
Absolutely.
in January?
Because we wanna see if they, we wanna see, especially, we wanna see that if they're already starting to market from then on in, but if they're marketing like the month before, then that's not, but if they're saying, hey, we wanna put an application in because we wanna start doing, ad buys or whatever we want starting from January, right? Or if it's something that we wanna be advertising all the way through, we should be able to entertain it, but we just don't wanna be able to, we want it to be on set dates.
I think that's a great idea. That's a good idea.
Once you've approved it, do they get their money?
Immediately.
Okay, so we're an advisory board, right? So when we approve, we're advising council
That they
that,
want.
hey, we vetted this, we think this might be a good project, or we say, no, we don't think it's a good project, but ultimately, council would have to approve. And then after that, how much time it takes for the contract and for that money to go out. So there is, so with some of these dates, that's some of the issues that we talked about in the past, is that there needs to be enough time. Because even for December 8th to the January, that's pretty tight to get applications in, for us to go through them all, for us to then send it to council, for council, and then if council has problems, so that turns into a nightmare because there's not enough time to turn this out. With one application, no big deal, but when we've had multiple application, that turns into being a little bit of a nightmare if it's a tight thing. So I'm of the notion, and I like what you guys, but I'm of the notion of having less dates with wider time periods.
What if we drop it to 2 deadline dates?
Perfect.
We give them 6 months and 6 months.
There you go. Those are the dates.
And then do they get
The
their money?
most I've seen, I think Gallup did it. The most I've seen is 3.
Okay,
And so if you figure out 3, but I would say less is good.
mimic them and all, and it was the 4 quarters.
Yeah, they
So-
broke it up into 4 rounds. That's where I got the 4 rounds
From Gallup?
from Gallup. Yeah.
Okay.
And their application was nice too. I just didn't know if I could go through and change the application and add this checklist that you guys are wanting. Because
Sure.
Gallup in their application had that checklist.
And post it and put it up for discussion, but I'm glad you're doing that. These are some of the things that we need to now implement, and it's fine if we've taken from other cities, but it's something that we're lacking. We don't have that page that says that, or what the criteria, we don't have deadlines, but now we could post it, we could put it on our website, we can do, so if anybody rolled in and they're wondering, hey, what do I do with lodger's tax? That section spells out, these are my deadlines, this is what I need to fill out, and this is the criteria. We just need to get back to that point.
Just to answer Mr. Estrada's question, so once you guys advise us, once the board advises us that yes, but they wanna follow through with the application, I'll go ahead and set them up for, the next council. And I'll let the council know that you guys recommended approval for this application, and they'll go ahead and I'll have the contract already drawn out. Typically, they sign it that night, if they can. If not, they'll sign it the following day or so, and then they disperse the funds to them at that point, because they should be able to be responsible enough to handle that budget to maintain them through their project.
And Mr. Chair, I guess what I'm trying to do is, I want to make it easy on you all, so that you have, your work is streamlined, so you don't have to keep changing and modifying and adding to stuff. My recommendation is whatever schedule you come up with, the two different dates. The one that has the most experience on this board is Mr. Chairman here, and I'd check with him, and I think we cover those dates.
Well, Lucas, you've been here for a while as well. If there's not that many things in January, February, March for not getting that, I mean, that
Could be one of the ones that we eliminate. So you could go December, April, and I mean, the summertime is the heavy duty time. If you need that for those two, then you can make it so. So if you miss the December date, great, then you're getting all the way into the April. My preference is that they started from the December, but fine. But none of these dates would have, as long as it's all within that year's time period, they should be able to apply if they're gonna start marketing right after they applied. So there's no restrictions on, you could only do it for this date. If you're gonna immediately start marketing, we should be able to provide assistance for it.
We'll set up some dates, me and Brooke, and then we'll mass email everybody so you guys are all on the same page and know what.
And I think that provides enough distance so that this isn't a nightmare. We're calling multiple meetings or whatever. It provides enough time period for us to go through the applications, for it to get through city, if there's any issues and so on. With more windows, this is it's a lot of effort that we're gonna be putting forth
Yeah, you're
on
right,
there.
you're
I think
right.
3 might be perfect.
You're right, you're right.
Chairman, I have one quick question. Would it make more sense to, instead of ending it on July 1st, to encompass the 4th of July with that?
It would.
You see what I'm saying? Instead of, yeah.
It would, Mr. Esperanza.
Oh, it would, okay.
We'll look at that.
All events
We'll mix the
remaining
dates, we'll
before-
tune the dates. We'll tune the dates to kind of fit
Yeah.
around our most busy time of season
Yeah, of course.
and kind of, ease off where we're
Well,
not having.
I
that
just
much.
wouldn't even put I would put unless, so, and that's something that we'd need to ask, as well as for financing, if we're doing something wrong with approving, and if we can't do it past the fiscal year, per se.
We're fine.
So
That's right.
if you find that out, that would be our only restriction. But again, even for this July 1st, I wouldn't put that there. If they're marketing an event for fiestas, and they're want to start marketing in January, I think we should be open to be able to do that.
Got it.
And I think, I think finance department should be able to figure out, okay, well, this half of it is just in this quarter, it's still part of this same project or whatever that we're approving. But if we have any issues with that, let's find out. But I want it to be,
We'll do some digging into finance and find out, but, I think we should be,
yeah, I think we're almost there. We're set. We eliminate one of these, that makes it clean, provides opportunity, provides clear set deadlines that we can have. It's enough flexibility to work through council and so on, but it's finally something that's,
we'll do that, like I said, we'll go ahead and mass email you guys and let you guys know what's going on. We'll give you an option of 2 dates and 3 dates.
Okay.
That way you guys would see what you guys think is better for you guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's with the caveat of, this is what works for the city as well, as far as getting it through council and so on.
Yeah, me and Brooke will work at that. We'll
Yeah.
work at that.
And I think it'll be less headache, actually, with less, it'll be less headache, and there'll be more effort towards actually getting good applications in.
And it gives us time to market to everybody too, cause I mean,
work it, yeah.
now at the end, I got to the radio station really late. I got to, the reader board really late. I got to social media real late, Optic real late. And we definitely, if we would've had a little bit more time, I know it had more bites. We did, like I said, we did get some calls, but they thought it was just too short a notice.
For the 31st.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm glad you're doing that. We know we've had to, so it has to be what you've been doing is getting it to these avenues, and if there's other ways to do it, but I think the more and more years we get behind where it's static and we've put it on our website, then it's like clockwork. The example is, everybody know when it's tax day, right? No, I don't have to figure out, hey, I didn't know. I mean, it's approach it. We want to make that for lodgers.
In their mindset.
That this is the day we need to get all of them and all the entities know.
I say that's a great idea. Let's get it. That sounds great. We can figure out something.
Thank you.
All right. Okay,
Moving on to times of lodgers tax meetings.
Okay. So we've had a request by one of the board members, you guys are all business people and realize that your time is precious and stuff like that. So we want to make sure everybody's comfortable with their time slots. I know we're used to meeting at 2:00, but for some of us, it's the busy time of the day. It's been brought to my attention by Mr. Lesperance that 2:00 is just not fitting in his schedule. That's his busy time of day for his storefront.
absolutely, yeah.
And he wants to be a part of the board. He's already a part of other boards, and he makes time for that. But the best time of day for him is 4 p.m. And he was hoping the board would reconsider, start having meetings at 4 p.m. instead of 2 p.m.
Okay. Do we start running into, if it's Tuesday, do we start running into any council meetings or anything, or any other meetings?
So council meetings are on the second Wednesday and third Wednesday of the month. However, if there is a special council meeting, we might get bumped.
Okay.
But at that time, I can call you guys way
That's right,
prior
we
to
no
that,
longer
and let you guys know,
have
because they have to give
housing
us plenty of
On
notice.
Tuesday.
Right, I think we used to have housing or something when we had housing. Was that what I was thinking on the Tuesdays?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think we could do
Yeah.
it.
I just, Mondays and Fridays are too hard for me. So, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are probably easier. Small business, like ours, Monday's getting ready for the week, Friday's trying to get the week done and get ready for next week, so those 2 days are tough. And then one of the days, Tuesday, mostly Wednesday or Thursday, I go at least once a day per week to Albuquerque. So I can change my life around, but 4:00's fine with me.
Yeah, and as long as we don't interfere, because each thing ends up being in its slot, right? So lodgers tax has always been this time period, and everybody's kind of just coordinated around each time period. If that's not bothering any other entity, I can entertain it being at 4. That's not a
Four's
problem, is
okay,
that?
okay with me.
4 is okay. Do you need that as a motion from us?
We better take a vote on it, just to make sure that we're
And how about Thursday, because Wednesday could be a council meeting, right?
it could be Tuesday or Thursday, whichever day you guys want.
So you wanna keep it at the Tuesdays and just push it to 4?
Tuesdays is fine too. Tuesday at 4 is fine.
That work?
Does 4 o'clock impede on your guys' being here after 5 o'clock?
We get off at 5 o'clock, but we always have to make our way around you guys, so we're fine with it. I mean, there'll be days we get out early, there'll be days we get out late, and we'll deal with it at that point in time.
So the quarterly meetings will be Tuesdays at 4. Which Tuesday? First one?
I don't know which,
Second Tuesday.
It's always a second, and I think that's actually in the ordinance, but it's every quarter, second Tuesday.
Yeah, that one's in the ordinance.
Well, I
Oh, that's
so,
easy.
well, then I so move if you need a motion. It's not-
Um,
Well,
yeah.
You just send us an email what the dates are, okay, so we'll put them on our
And we
phones.
we may have to, I mean, it's not on the agenda, but you want us to make a motion, said so, or
Give direction.
let's give direction, and then, I mean, if you guys want.
As an action item.
It's up to you guys.
yeah, we'll give direction to set up the next meeting at 4 o'clock instead.
Okay.
For it, but what we can do is if we end up having a special meeting, for it, you could put it in the agenda, and we could prove it, all of our quarterly meetings from here on out will be 4 o'clock.
Right, and I'll definitely do my due diligence with the city clerk to make sure that we're not violating anything with the time change, but I'll make sure that that's something that we discuss with her. I'm more than positive it'll be okay, but just to cross our i's and dot our t's. I mean,
Okay.
vice versa.
There's a email with all the dates for next year. 'Cause we're November, it's turkey time and Christmas time, you know. It's
got it.
it's crazy.
You're thinking about food too much, man.
Well, I'm thinking of you all the time.
That's it.
Those, what is it? Chicken dinners, right?
That's it. There you go.
Chicken baskets.
Right here.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving, happy